Hey guys, so I wanted to record this first video as just a summary of my original company, Linknlearn being built, and then how it came to kind of be sold and that process there. That's the question I get asked the most. There's not a lot of us agency owners who actually go through an acquisition, so there's a ton of questions around that. So I'm gonna do first. This video is just a summary, how I got into it, how I even got the idea to possibly sell, and then how that actually came to fruition. And then I'm going to make a couple of smaller videos after this, covering the points that I wish like I had known beforehand, which was, how is value established? How do they come up with that price? How do you negotiate that price? The different types of buyers that you're likely to be approached with, the types of deals that are out there, and then what does life after like an acquisition look like. So I'm going to cover the summary here, and then we'll do a couple of other little ones covering those most frequently asked questions that I get, and also the things I really wished I had known. So basically, my original company, Linknlearn, was a LinkedIn outreach company. It started when I was actually working in the restaurant industry, and I came to LinkedIn to try to find more opportunities for myself. I took a very aggressive approach with LinkedIn, where I was sending 100 connection requests a day. I was trying to add anyone that I thought could add value opportunity to me, which was HR managers, district managers, company owners in my city. And I was introducing myself, and I very quickly became a very visible person in my space on LinkedIn in my city, which, if you think about it in those terms, is very easy to do. I wasn't the most visible restaurant operator in the world. I wasn't the most visible restaurant operator on LinkedIn, but in my space on LinkedIn in my city, I did become the most visible. And that would probably be very easy for almost anyone in any industry to do on LinkedIn in your city, in your niche. So think about it like that, and you realize it's not that unachievable to become a very visible player. So that actually opened up a lot of opportunities for me, where I was introduced to an investor who wanted to build a restaurant franchise. I was able to get in on that deal and become a part owner of a small restaurant franchise. One store turned into four. And as that progressed, I was looking to, my mindset had shifted into more of what was possible, and also the power of LinkedIn. So I took that, and I started freelancing on the side, helping other companies do the same thing that I had done, finding opportunity on LinkedIn. I turned it into a system, grew a team, and the company grew. Um, we did over $1 million, and probably I think the first couple of years, and then it kept growing. We had 210 active outreach clients at one time, and then we were toying with the idea of switching into paid ads, and it was the beginning of 2021. And I actually got hit. So the way that I actually got approached to sell, I was not looking to sell at all. Was actually hit with a Facebook ad where they offered me a free valuation of the business. So I thought that was kind of cool because I built this. I was making more money than I ever had. I was not making like six figures before I became a business owner. So this was really exciting to me. I was working on my own terms. I was working from home. So I was definitely not interested in selling at the time, but I was interested in getting the valuation. So that was a really clever kind of first touch for them. And that was their whole, shtick. They first offer you the valuation, no strings attached, and then they offer to list it for free as well. And each time I said, what's that going to cost me? And they said, absolutely nothing. So they evaluated it, they gave me a price, and I said, you know what? Like, again, I'm not looking to sell, but I can't say that if someone offered me the top end of that range in a check or in cash today, that I could just without hesitation say no. I would have to like have a serious conversation and think about it. So I said, sure, go ahead and list it. They said I would only have to pay if I actually accepted an offer. They would take a percent. So I thought that was really fair. So they did a really good job. They listed my website. They coached me through, how to position it. They had a very nice network of buyers. And I kind of thought, this probably isn't going to go anywhere. Like, it's one thing for someone to tell you that your business is worth X amount of dollars. It's another thing for someone to actually offer that to you. So I wasn't really expecting very much. At this point, I actually told my wife, just in case something happened, I didn't want her to be blindsided. I said, hey, I let this company list it. They said it was worth this range. I think you'd agree, like we'd at least have to consider that if someone offered us that, even though, we're not looking to sell. And she was basically like, well, what else would you do? Like, this is the best thing that ever happened to us. And I said, yeah, you're right. Like I would probably like be very hard put to sell because I have no idea what I'd do next. So anyway, we let them list it and I wasn't expecting much. And I think 3 weeks later, we got our first offer. It was all cash, but it was a very low offer as far as what the range was that our company was listed for. And I actually got really excited at that point because I was like, oh, someone offered me real cash. Like I think they only offered like 300,000 or something. And I say only, like that's more money that's ever been in my bank account in my entire life. So I was super stoked. And the broker was like, no, we're not even going to entertain. Like, that's disrespectful to you. I told him that we're not going to waste your time with a phone call for something that low. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. But it's just like validation. Like someone offered something. And I thought, if that was the only offer I ever got, like, of course I wouldn't take that. Because I thought my business was worth so much more and I see the potential in it, 5-10 years from now, but it was just validating that it would be worth something. So a couple weeks later, they do an email blast, and that's when the traction really starts, where we start getting interested person after interested person. I started actually having conversations on the phone with these people, and it got real. In the evenings, my wife and I would take walks and we would talk about these offers that were coming in. We talk about the types of buyers that wanted to buy, what their intentions were, what they, if they did or did not have any need for me after the acquisition, how their offers were positioned or structured. And those are things I'm going to cover in a couple of other short videos, is the types of buyers, the types of deals, the types of pricing structure. And so I got a couple of interesting deals. Most of them were larger marketing agencies who wanted a LinkedIn arm and didn't want the hassle of building the process and the team. They just wanted to kind of roll us up into their structure. Most of them didn't have any need for me afterwards, just wanted to pay me and send me on my way. There was one interesting offer, and I realized at that point that I did really care what happened to the team after I left. And I mean, it sounds kind of obvious, like, well, of course you would, you're a human being. Like, I kind of thought though, like, if they offer you a big check, like, it's business, like, maybe the good ones will stay, the bad ones won't. Like, it's kind of up to that company. But some of the buyers made it very clear, like they wanted our systems and our data, didn't have much use for the team, and it was almost like they wanted to use us for spare parts, and that really didn't sit right with me. And I immediately had no interest in selling to them. And it became very clear that I actually cared what happened, not just to my team, but what happened and what the direction and vision of the company was afterwards, which is really strange because it's like you build something, like you shouldn't really care what people do with it after. But I think, if there's anyone else who's going through this or has gone through it, I think you realize that you get a little sentimental about what you've built and what it's going to do afterwards. So I actually got a different kind of offer, which I never expected. It was someone who was just a pure investor, had no desire to run it themselves. They insisted, in fact, as part of the deal, that not only I stay on to help run it, but that I ensure that the team stays intact. And so, part of the stipulation was that I sign an employment agreement to stay on and run it, and that some of my incentives, as part of the buyout and incentives, were structured to actually stay and see this through, at least for the first couple of years as part of my earnout, and then 3 years after that as part of a growth structure incentive. So it became very clear that the team was a big part of what they were wanting to purchase, and not just the actual assets. So that was different for me. It also solved, what would I do after this? The idea that someone could purchase the company or the majority of the company, leave me enough interest to actually care what happened to this afterwards, and then get paid to basically do what I've been doing without any of the risk. That started to sound really appealing. It's the kind of offer that I didn't even know existed or that I was looking for. And the other part of the equation, which I'll cover more, is that he then brought more to the table and said, I am a well-connected investor. I have these companies in my portfolio. I founded these large companies. We could easily pair you with and tap you into these immediate resources that could benefit your company. I'll actually also invest, in addition to paying you for what you've built, invest into this company and help accelerate its growth into, a $50 million company. And those were all things that I'd never considered, that I would actually care about the person who was buying it too, and what they brought to the table. If they had other complementary businesses, an ecosystem that our business could fit into, if they brought additional resources that they're willing to invest after the purchase to accelerate growth. And the final thing that I never thought of was that, if someone buys 70-80% of the business, the appealing part of having 20 or 30% remaining is that, eventually if it sells again, you're thinking if it sells for like the same price or a little more, like, maybe you'll get a small piece of the pie a second time. But it became very clear that with the investor that I was paired with on this deal, is that my second exit, even though I'd be selling a smaller percentage than the first time, my second exit would no doubt be bigger than my first exit, because the company would probably be worth 10 to 20 to 30 times more than what it originally sold with. And that trajectory was only possible being paired with someone with these immense resources. So that was very eye-opening experience to me. When proposed with that deal, I did not expect to be giving it so much thought. And there, in the end, it was pretty much no way I could say no to that. It was essentially a perfect deal for me, being paid out for what I had currently built, giving me a path of what I could do moving forward, being paid to do what I already love to do, and being paired with probably one of the more wealthy investors I'll ever meet in this world. And so now I'm essentially running a funded startup with immense resources at my back, with complete liberty to build, and no micromanagement over my shoulder. So I would say it was definitely a great deal, and I don't have any regrets.